Alright, so we are live, are we? But no signal. So there is an error. Let's grab your settings. I don't know what's happening, but I hope it's working. I really hope it's working. So many errors. No. Okay. Let me just fix this. Okay. Alright, we are live. This is it. So today is the first day of reading Paul Graham's essays, and we'll be doing it for a long time, and I might not be able to cover 200 of them, but I'll ensure that all the important ones and relevant ones will be covered. And let's start with the first one today: how to do great work. This was written in July 2023, pretty recent. If you collected lists of techniques for doing great work in a lot of different fields, what would the intersection look like? I decided to find out by making it. Partly my goal was to create a guide that could be used by someone working in any field, but I was curious about the shape of the intersection. And the one thing that this exercise shows is that it does have a definite shape. It's not just a point label, work hard. The following recipe assumes you are very ambitious. The first step is to decide what to work on. The work you choose needs to have three qualities. It has to be something you have a natural aptitude for, that you have a deep interest in, and that offers a scope to do great work. Alright, that's interesting. So the first prerequisite for even trying to read this article is you should be very ambitious, right? And obviously the people who are reading Paul Graham's essays will be ambitious. I'm ambitious, and I hope you are too. And so the three things he assumes that your work contains are: first one, you have to have a natural aptitude for it. So it means that you should be intelligent enough to actually get it done properly, right? You should be smart. And then there is another factor called deep interest in it. So you should be having a deep interest in whatever you do. And then there is a scope of doing great work. So you can't be just trying to be a janitor and say that I need to do great work, I have great aptitude for that, and I'm deeply interested in it. You can't do great work as a janitor. Maybe you can do it, but it won't return the best ways. Anyways, let's continue. The practice, you don't have to worry much about the third criterion. Okay, ambitious people are, if anything, already too conservative about it. So all you need to do is something you have an aptitude for and great interest in. So ambitious people will obviously choose great scope of work. They'll not be interested in becoming a janitor, obviously. So here it is. You can ignore the third one. So the first thing is have a great aptitude for it. You should be smart enough to do that work, and you should have a great interest in it. So you should find something you're good at and you have good interest in it, right? That sounds straightforward, but it's often quite difficult. When you're young, you don't know what you're good at or what different kinds of work are like. Some kinds of work you end up doing may not even exist yet. So while some people know what they want to do at 14, most have to figure it out. That's so true. The way to figure out what to work on is by working. If you're not sure what to work on, guess. But pick something, get going. You'll probably guess wrong for some of the time, but that's fine. It's good to know about multiple things. Some of the biggest discoveries come from noticing connections between different fields. Develop a, develop a hard habit of working on your own projects. Don't let work mean something other people tell you to do. If you do manage to do great work one day, it will probably be on the project of your own, and it may be written within some bigger project, but you will be driving your part of it. This is a great advice. Like literally, you should be working on your own projects, right? And working on your own things will be harder than working on other people's things, obviously, but the results are better, and your soul will be satisfied by doing it. You're working for yourself, right? You're working for your passion, and your soul will be satisfied for doing that. And with that passion and motivation, you'll be able to do great work. That makes sense. So first thing, get a thing you should be working on. So how will you find that? Find something which will be having what? You should have an aptitude for that. So you should be smart enough to do that, and you should have a great interest in it. Okay, two things. And if you don't have anything currently, like if you couldn't find anything of such, then just guess, do the guesswork and start whatever you're presented with, and keep going, right? Keep exploring. Maybe you choose the wrong stuff, but you'll always be having a benefit of knowing multiple things. All right. What should your project be? This is done. What should your projects be? Whatever seems to you excitingly ambitious. As you grow older, your taste in projects evolves. Exciting and important will converge. At 7, it may seem excitingly ambitious to build huge things out of Lego. And then at 14, to teach yourself calculus. And till at 21, you are starting to explore unanswered questions in physics. But always preserve excitingness. So the project you are working on will be evolving with time, with your age, and with the time you spend on those projects. Like at 7, you are doing silly things, but they are still as exciting as what you do at 21, which are more important, obviously. But again, when you're actually working on your projects, what I actually observed is that the projects evolve as well. Like you will choose a project, and as you start doing the project, maybe you will do what you have planned to do at start, but as you go on working on it, you will be evolving that project into more what can I say, more scalable projects, right? So the project can be okay. I'm very bad at teaching, I guess. Anyways, so as you spend more time on your project, what happens is that you'll be finding new methods of making the project better and exciting, right? So making it more giving better results, or making it more useful, making it more valuable. So you'll be finding different ways. So for example, for my side project called as contextful editor, I started it by the MVP was to just build a agent which will be giving you prompts, whatever the human prompt you give, it will give a structured prompt back to you. But later, while working on the project, I realized that it will be of great help if I actually add features like context, right? The context will be memory, and this memory is actually stored in an LLM, but we don't want that to happen. We want it to be stored separately, and LLM to actually have access to all these things. So you can use multiple LLMs with the same memory, right? And that was the point where I actually started contextful AI prompter. It was before that it was just 1 second AI prompter. Now it's contextful AI prompter. So even the projects evolve. There's a kind of excited curiosity that's both the engine and the rudder of great work. It will not only drive you, but it will let you have its way. We'll also show you what to work on. This is it. This is what I'm talking about. There's a kind of excited curiosity that's both the engine and the rudder of great work. So the more excited and the more curious you are, the more great work you will be doing. Great work you will be doing, right? And you just have to get into the part and start doing the project, start working on that thing what you have the excitement and curiosity in, and you'll just evolve, right? You'll just keep getting it better, and someday it will become a huge project you'll be working on, and you'll be passionate about it, and it will be helpful for you, right? So what are the excessively curious about? What are you excessively curious about? Curious to a degree that would bore most other people. That's what you're looking for. So not everybody can do it, right? So you should be curious and excited about something. Everybody is, right? About something so badly that other people may get bored of it, but you won't. You'll still be doing that day and night. Once you found something excessively interested in, the next step is to learn enough about it to get to one of the frontiers of knowledge. Knowledge expands fractally, and from the distance of its edges looks smooth. But once you learn enough to get close to one, they turn out to be full of gaps. The next step is to notice them. This takes some skill, because your brain wants to ignore such gaps in order to make simpler model of the world. Many discoveries have come from asking questions about things that everyone else took for granted. Okay, so you should find what you're excessively interested in, and then start learning about it, start gaining knowledge about it, and at the same time start doing work on it, right? You don't have to first gain knowledge and then come back to doing projects. You can do it simultaneously while learning it. That's the best way for me, actually. That's how I work. And the next step is noticing it. So the skills, because your brain wants to ignore such gaps in order to make simpler model of the world. Many discoveries has come asking questions about things that everyone took for granted. So once you have enough knowledge, you'll start noticing gaps, right? Anywhere, once you become an expert in it, you'll start noticing gaps in it. There is problems everywhere, and you just have to have right amount of knowledge and right amount of curiosity to actually spot them and solve them. So if the answer seems strange, so much better. Great work often has a tincture of strangeness. You see this from painting to math. It would be effective to try manufacture it, and if it appears, embrace it. Okay. So what he is trying to say is, the gaps or the problems will have a solution. And the more stranger the solution is, the more better. Because the more strange it is, the less people have tried to do that, right? Because it seems strange or silly. And yeah, they are outlier ideas. That's what he's talking about the next paragraph. Let's go for that. Boldly chase outlier ideas, even if other people are interested in it. In fact, especially if they aren't. So if other people are not interested in it, they are of great value, right? Nobody is working on it, so you should be solving it. Maybe it can be a monopoly. Who knows? If you're excited about some possibility that everyone else ignores, you have enough expertise to say precisely that they're all overlooking. That's as good a bet as you'll find. This is kind of, you know, I don't really agree with this, because there might be a reason why people are not actually interested in that idea, right? So even if you chase outlier ideas, first validate them. After validating, you can get started, right? Validating will let you know that other people are overlooking them because they are not as good as you, or you are dumb enough to fall in the pit while everybody else sees the real deal with it. Why it is a silly idea. Everybody knows it. And what you can do from there is that maybe find a better solution for that. That's a better way. And maybe you'll be reaching a point where the solution is feasible, right? Next, 4 steps. Choose a field, learn enough to get in the front tire, notice gaps, explore promising ones. This is how practically everyone who's done great work has done it. So get better at whatever you are interested in, notice gaps in it, and explore the promising ones. That's the actually roadmap. That's the roadmap for great work. From painters to physicists, whatever the profession is, the roadmap for great work is first to choose a field, get to the front tire of it, notice the gaps, and then work on the ones which are promising. Step 2 and 4 will require hard work. It may not be possible to prove that you have to work hard to do great things, but the empirical evidence is on the scale of evidence for mortality. That's why it's essential to work on something you're deeply interested in. Interest will drive you to work harder than mere diligence will ever could. 3 most powerful motives are curiosity, delight, and desire to do something impressive. Sometimes they converge, and combination is the most powerful of all. So, if you want to do great work, it takes a lot of hard work, right? It's not possible to actually prove that hard work will lead to great things, but there is definitely evidence for the scale of great things happening due to the hard work, right? Every great thing has happened due to hard work, and there is evidence for that. Material evidence. There is no empirical evidence, but there is material evidence. And doing great work or working so hard is hard, and it can only happen with great motivation, curiosity, and delight. And when you have passion about something, when you're really curious about something, excited about something, and you also are working on a great project or a great gap has been found, and when those two converge, it will be the greatest, most powerful combination of all. The big prize is to discover a fractal bird. You notice a crack in the surface of the knowledge. Pry it open. There is a whole world inside it. Let's talk a little about complicated businesses or figuring out what to work on. The main reason it's hard is that you can't tell what most of the works are like except by doing them, which means that 4 steps overlap. You may have to work on something for years before you know how much you like it or how good you are at it. And in the meantime, you're not doing and thus not learning about or most other kinds of work. So in the worst case, you choose late based on very incomplete information. So we're talking about the first aspect of doing great work. What is it? Figuring out what to work on. And how do you know what to work on? What are you passionate about? What are you excited about? First thing, you might know it only by actually working on it, right? Maybe you'll work for a few years and you understand that, oh my god, this is what I love to do and I will do it. I'm so happy about it. That's what I thought when I was in college. So somehow I got into an engineering college, right? I thought that this is not for me. I can't sit for hours in front of a computer and in a 4x4 cabin. I want to explore the world. I want to move out, talk to people and do those things. But so I thought that I should be getting into business management or something like that, and I kind of actually prepared for those kind of exams, entrance exams for business schools in the first year of my college before I actually experienced working on code, right? Once I started coding and spent enough time on that to get better at it, I started loving it and I felt like I can do this all day. Right? And I did it for days without sleep, without food, nothing, and it finally felt like this is it. This is what I love the most and I want to do things based on that. And I started a lot of project based on that, right? I found a lot of gaps I wanted to improve my life, and I found problems in my life, and the solution for those problems were brought by my own skill of software development, and I started them. So the nature of ambition exacerbates what is this? Exacerbates. Crazy. So the nature of ambition exacerbates this problem. Ambition comes in two forms: one that precedes interest in the subject, and one that grows out of it. Most people who do great work have a mix. The more you have the farmer, the harder it will be to decide what to do. Cool. So ambition comes from two forms: one that precedes interest in subject, and one that grows out of it, right? Same thing that happened to me in code. It grew out of my subject, right? I didn't have the interest before, but it happened after I actually explored that subject, right? All right. The more you have farmer, the harder it will be to decide what to do. Okay, I have the latter, so it's easy for me, I guess. The educational systems in most countries pretend it's easy. They expect you to commit to a field long before you could know what it's really like. As a result, an ambitious person or an optimal trajectory will often read to the systems as an instance of breakage. That is so true. That happened to me. They just put me inside a engineering college. I never wanted to be there. Actually, I never thought of it. Maybe I could. I love it right now, but I didn't know what to do when I actually entered there, and they made me commit to it, right? And that is why I actually studied coding in the first place, and then my ambition grew out of that subject. It would be better if they at least admitted it. If they admitted that the system not only can't do much help much to help you figure out what to work on, but it's designed on assumption that you'll somehow magically guess as a teenager. They don't tell you, but I will. When it comes to figuring out what to work on, you're on your own. Some people get lucky and do guess it correctly, but the rest will find themselves scrambling diagonally across tracks laid on an assumption that everyone does. What should you do if you are young, ambitious about but don't know what to work on? What you should not do is drift along passively, assuming that the problem will solve itself. You need to take an action, but there is no systematic procedure you can follow. When you read biographies of people who have done great work, it's remarkable how much luck is involved. They discover what to work on as a result of chance of meeting, or by reading a book they might have to happen they happen to pick up. So you need to make yourself a big target for luck. The way to do that is to be curious. A lot of things, meet a lot of people, read a lot of books, ask a lot of questions. This is such an important thing to do. So when you're young and ambitious, you don't know what to work on. What you should not do is actually move on in life, right? You should take an action. Yeah, your environment will be trying to commit you to something that everybody is doing. They'll be trying to treat you as the same sheep in the whole herd, but you're not. You're a goat, right? You're an ambitious person, and you should take action and figure out what to work on, and that happens mostly by luck, right? So you should be making yourself a huge target for luck. And how can you do that? By exploring a lot of things. The more you explore, the more you have the opportunity to meet the love of your life, right? That's what I call it, love of your life. So the more you explore, the more books you read, the more diversified your curiosity is in things is, the more easier it is, the more lucky you can get in finding what you should be working on. So when you're young, explore. Not just explore narrowly, right? You should not explore narrowly. You should actually explore different diverse things, right? Go for physical things, explore marketing, explore sales, explore software, right? Explore content creation, explore building stuff, explore art. Everything completely diverse. And once you do that, you'll start to get interested in one or the other things, and you're curious about all these things, right? And you'll know what it's gonna be to enter into this field of software engineering, or what it's gonna be like if you enter into the marketing or sales, or enter into some art forms like acting, right? You'll know what's there inside that, and you could be able to figure out, like, you can make a decision easily that this is what I want to be at and this is what I don't want to do, right? Once you get there, you got it. You're ambitious, you're interested in this, and now the next thing is actually getting the knowledge in that thing. Once you get the knowledge, find the gaps. Once you find the gaps, work on it. That's it. Hard work is everything that you need after that. When in doubt, optimize for interestingness. Fields change as you learn more about them. What mathematicians do, for example, is very different from what you do in high school math classes. So you need to give different types of work a chance to show you what they're like. But a field should become interesting as you learn more about it. If it doesn't, it's probably not for you. Right? So how do you know that if it is actually interesting, or if you're actually ambitious and curious about it? Easy. The more you learn about it, the next phase, what is that phase? Knowledge gaining phase. In that knowledge gaining phase, you can confirm that this is what I actually want to work on by seeing how interesting the subject gets as you learn more about it, right? The more you learn, the more interested you are. That's it. That is the field you're looking for. If you're getting interested in it as you learn more, that's the best thing, right? If you're getting bored of the depth in that subject, then that's probably not for you, right? If it is boring, if the depth is boring, it's probably not for you. Don't worry if you find you're interested in different things than other people. The stranger your tastes in interestingness, the better. The strange states are often strong ones. The strong taste for a work means you'll be productive and you're more likely to find new things if you're looking where you have lived before. Right. Less competition. Right. So you'll be scared of starting, and since you're an anomaly, what you'll do is be very productive to actually prove everybody wrong, and that's great. And it is also it is like a taste in music, right? The more strange your music taste is, the more of a strong music listener you are, right? So if you like some bands which are underrated or barely people listen to them, that means you have a strong taste in something, right? You're a strong listener. You don't just go and hear to general music. You actually dive into music. You find your love, right? You find what you actually love the most, and that is more stronger than just listen to music generally. One sign that you're suited for some kind of work is when you like even the parts that other people find tedious or frightening. This is a great thing. So if you love something that others hate in the same, part of their work, right? In the same field, if everybody hates something but you love something, that means it is suited for you, right? You can do hard things that many people can't do, and it effectively leads to great work because nobody else is working on it, right? So you are the only one working on it, and hence your work will be great even if you are not working hard enough for it. You're still going to get paid, and that is what it is. But fields aren't people. If you don't owe them, no loyalty. If in the course of working on one thing you discover another that's more interesting, don't be afraid to switch. This is such an important thing. This can change lives. This should go into my fucking Twitter. Let me just... Okay. There we go. Fields aren't people. You don't owe them loyalty. If in the course of working on one thing you discover another that's more interesting, don't be afraid to switch. If you're making something for people, make sure it's something they actually want. The best way to do is to make something you yourself want. Write a story you want to read. Build a tool you want to use. Since your friends probably have similar interests, they will also get you initial audience. And this is the fucking best part, right? Working on something, you want it for yourself, right? So for me, I started everything using this principle. So when I was in December last year December, I wanted to manage my life. I wanted a journal, but I don't want a physical one because I don't have privacy in my life, right? People can just get my journal and read it. I don't want it, and hence I decided that I should be making a journal online, and that's where journalize.com.site has been found, right? And then after that, AI has come in. I started to use a lot of LLMs, and then I thought that I'm very bad at writing prompts. To solve that thing, I created another tool called Contextful AI Prompter. That's how you actually choose your projects, right? Whatever you want to build, whatever you want, just work on that, and there will always be people who actually have the similar problem that you have, and they will be your audience. They should follow from the excitingness rule. Obviously, the more exciting story to write will be the one you want to read. The reason I mention this case explicitly is that so many people get it wrong. Instead of making what they want, they try to make what some imaginary or more sophisticated audience wants. Once you go down that route, you're lost. Okay, this is crazy because I thought I thought that I was just thinking about myself whenever I actually started these projects, right? So I thought that maybe I'm just being selfish or only thinking about myself. Maybe there is very less audience or less people who are facing the same issue, or maybe not everybody likes my test. Maybe I should be thinking how everybody else is thinking and build apps that might serve them purpose, right? But this guy says that you should actually work on whatever you're excited about. That will be whatever you want to have, right? And that's what I'm doing, and I don't know, maybe I'm not completely convinced about this, but at the same time, maybe what you want is not what everybody else wants, right? So you should check on it. It's not really polar, right? It's not really a binary thing. It's either this or that. It's a hybrid thing. It can be a mix of this thing, like maybe a project which you want to do, and also the project is feasible enough to scale, right? There's a lot of forces that will lead you astray when you're trying to figure out what to work on. Pretentiousness, fashion, fear, money, politics, other people's wishes, eminent frauds. But if you stick to what you find genuinely interesting, you'll be proof against all of them. If you're interested, you're not astray. Following your interest may sound like a rather passive strategy, but in practice, it actually means the following them past all your sorts of obstacles. You usually have to risk rejection, failure. So it does take good deal of boldness. But while you need boldness, you don't usually need much planning. In most cases, the recipe for doing great work is simply work hard on exciting, ambitious projects. Something good will come out of it. Instead of making a plan, then executing it, and just try to preserve certain invariantness. This one is very important. I spent months just planning to what to do, when to do, how to do. Maybe planning is needed, but you should start working on it first. Once you start working on it, you'll figure it out, right? Just pick a project, start working on it, work hard, something will come out of it. And it happened all the time. The same journalize, if I have to do it right now, I can build it in 3 days. But it took me, around a year, because I didn't know anything, right? I started from scratch. I didn't know how to code. So I had an idea. I taught myself how to code. I taught myself front and back end and multiple languages, APIs, chatbots, agents, all those things, and it's great actually. While working on the project, I also learned about I also gained knowledge about what I really love, right? and I became the guy on the front tire. The trouble with planning is that it only works for achievements you can describe in advance. You can win a gold medal or get rich by deciding to as a child and then tenaciously pursuing that goal, but you can't discover natural selection that way. I think for most people who want to do great work, the right strategy is not to plan too much. At each stage, do whatever seems the most interesting and gives you the best options for the future. I call this approach staying up when. This is how most people who've done great will seem to have done it. So don't do too much of planning. Just at each stage, do whatever seems most interesting and gives you the best future options, right? So the more it feels like it's optimal for future, or the more interesting it is, it should be interesting and it will also be feasible for the future, right? It should not end in the future, so that your hard work will pay off at some time. It will not get obsolete by some other things like maybe LLMs, AI. So you just choose what is the most interesting decision to take, interesting thing to work on, and then check if it's actually feasible for the future, and keep working on it, right? You don't have to plan everything. Even when you found something exciting to work on, working on it is not always straightforward. There will be times when new idea makes you leap out of bed in the morning, get straight to work, but there is always plenty of times that aren't like that. Yep, it's like 1% to 99%. So there will be 1% of the days where you will wake up like in midnight, or you don't even need alarm. You just wake up and all you want to do is just get to work, right? Get to work. That's what goes in my mind some days. And some days what happens is you'll be depressed. You don't want to work. Why? Not because you're not interested in it anymore, because you're burnt out. And that will happen. That will definitely happen most of the times, because it's hard work and there are no results most of the times, right? You might work for 5 years on the same projects till you actually see some kind of result. But the 5 years you are working hard without no results, and you don't even know when you will be getting it. You don't just put out your sail and get blown forward by inspiration. There are headwinds, currents, and hidden shoals. So there is a technique for working, just as there is to sailing. For examples, while you must work hard, it's possible to work too hard. If you do that, you'll find you getting diminishing results. Fatigue will make you stupid, eventually even damage your health. The point at which work yields diminishing returns depends on the type. Some of the hardest type you might only be able to do 4 to 5 hours a day. Ideally, those hours will be contagious. To the extent you can, try to arrange your life so that you have big blocks of time to work in. You'll shy away from hard tasks if you know that you might be interrupted. That is fucking interesting. So instead of having small hours, have big blocks of hours, right? Nobody should interrupt it. Nobody or no distractions should come in between that, and you should start hard tasks in that. That will be better than taking multiple hours a day, or taking breaks in between, or having distractions in between. What happens is that once you want to do hard work, if you want to accomplish a hard task, what will have to happen is you should prepare your mind for that, right? You should prepare your mind that you are going to do a hard task. It will be boring, it will be hard, and you should commit to it, sitting there, and you should just prepare for the torture. And This preparation, if it's a big block, it will only happen once or twice. But if you are having distractions, every time you have a distraction, you should go back to preparing your mind again, right? And that will be very inefficient. That's what I think. So if I have to work, I will keep working no matter what. I will not let anybody to get in my way, right? I'll just keep working. Nobody can actually interrupt me. It will probably be harder to start working than keep working. Inertia again. That's what I learned in my 9th standard. Alright. You'll often have to trick yourself to get over that initial threshold. Preparing your mind. Don't worry about this. It's the nature of work, not a flaw in your character. Work has a sort of activation energy, both per day and per project. And since this threshold is fake, the sense that is higher than energy required to keep going, it's okay to tell yourself a lie of corresponding magnitude to get over it. Oh my god. That just gave me a nostalgia of atomic structure, right? Excited states and all those things, thresholds. What was that? Albert Einstein, right? It was some theory where light falls and it hits the electrons, it displaces them off their orbits, makes them excited and it needs some kind of threshold to do that, and that's called as activation energy, right? Anyways, coming back to this, tell yourself a lie, right? So if the magnitude is high, what you can do is just tell yourself a lie that I don't want to do heavy work. Okay, this is just if you have to go for a run, just say that I'll just put on my shoes and I'll just walk for 5 minutes and I'll get back. What happens is you'll start running, right? You might walk for a few minutes, a couple minutes, then you'll start running, right? It happens every time to me. That's how I get motivated to wake up every day, go for a run or go to the gym, right? All I think about is if I have to go to the gym, it is hard. If I don't want to do that, all I say to myself is just get your shoes on, go meet the boys and get back, right? And after I get in the gym, I'll start hanging out with them, working out with them, and I'll not leave for 2 hours, right? And that happens very often. It's the same thing, I guess. It's usually a mistake to lie yourself if you want to do great work, but this is one of the rare cases where it isn't. When I'm reluctant to start working in the morning, I often trick myself by saying I'll just read over what I got so far. 5 minutes later, I found something that seems to be mistaken or incomplete, and I'm off. Similar techniques work for starting new projects. It's okay to lie to yourself about how much work a project will entail. For example, lots of great things began with someone saying, "How hard could it be?" This is awesome. This is one case where the young have an advantage. They are more optimistic. Even though one of the sources of their optimism is ignorance, in this case, ignorance can sometimes beat knowledge. Try to finish what you start. Though even if it turns out to be more work than you expected, finishing things is not just an exercise in tediness or self-discipline. In many projects, a lot of best work happens in what was meant to be the final stage. Okay, this is interesting because I never got to finish what I started. Always started a lot of projects and I just never shipped them, right? Maybe shipped them halfway, but I never launched them. And I really tried to do that, but I always, come up with a new feature or new idea that should be implemented before I ship. And I keep doing that again and again and again. till I get bored of that project and I just leave that project there. So yeah, always finish the projects you should be doing, guys. That's very important. I made that mistake and I will fix it. I really want to fix it. Another permissible lie is to exaggerate the importance of what you're working on, at least in your own mind. If that helps you discover something new, it might turn out to have been a lie after all. Since there are two senses of starting work, per day or per project, there are two forms of procrastination. Per project procrastination, as is far more dangerous. You put off starting oh my god, this is my mistakes. These are my mistakes. I can't read. Per project procrastination is far the more dangerous, and I fell for it. You put off starting that ambitious project from the year to year because the time isn't quite right. When you're procrastinating in units of years, you can get a lot not done. That is so true. I have procrastinated to the next, like 3 projects to next year. I mean, not 1 year later, but next year. This is 2025 and next year is 2026, and we got 2 months left. So I have a project I'm working on a project right now, and after 2 months I'll be having 3 projects which I should be working on, which will be procrastinated again, obviously. I know myself, right? I know me, and I should not do that. Okay. Shame on me. Alright, I need water. One reason per project procrastination is so dangerous is that it actually camouflages itself as work. You're not just sitting around doing nothing, you're working in a seriously on something else. So per project procrastination doesn't set off alarms that per day procrastination does. You're too busy to notice it. This is such an important statement. Because the only reason I have procrastinated like for years is this one, per project procrastination. Because every time I think about, oh my god, I didn't do it yet, and then I'm like, I'm still working on a project, but on a different thing, right? So I'm not wasting my time. I'm working hard. I'm still working hard. I'm still learning, but I'm not working on that particular project, and that project is left unfinished, and a lot of work is undone, and that's pretty much bad. Oh my gosh. And maybe you even forget the skills you learned to actually get it done, right? There are some projects the more worst part of it is when you have a project you're working on, you pause it in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly you hop to a different project with a completely different skill set. You work on it for years just to realize that you have been procrastinating the previous project completion. And now when you get to the point where you unpause the previous project and start doing it, you will realize that you lost all the skills that you have learned while actually doing the work you have done in the project 1, right? And it's very depressing, right? So you look at the code you have written and you'll be like, what the hell did I do there, right? I lost everything. That's how I lost I learned Unity, right? Game development. I paused that project. I got back to web extensions. Now I forgot how to do web development, right? How to design websites. While developing game, I forgot how to design websites, and now I'm working on extensions and I forgot how to actually build games. And both of them I actually remember building websites because I'm a pro at it already, but this one this is game development. I'm not really good at it. I was just starting out and I just paused it there. Now I think that I completely forgot whatever I learned because I never got better at it. I never got expertise in it, right? So the knowledge whatever I have gained is gone. I just know little bit, you know. It's gonna be depressing when I start it again next year. Anyways, the way to beat it is to stop occasionally and ask yourself, am I working on what I want at what I most want to work on? When you're young, it's okay if the answer is sometimes no, but it gets interestingly dangerous as you get older. Am I young enough? Because my answer is no. Am I young enough? I'm 20 right now. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. It will be so depressing if I actually fuck up. Anyway, great work usually entails spending what you would seem to be to most people on unreasonable amount of time on a problem. Great work usually entails spending what would seem to be most unreasonable amount of time to be working on the problem. So if you work on a problem for like unreasonable amount of time that other people say that it's ridiculous, that's when great work happens. You can't think of this time as a cost. It will seem too high, and you have to find the work sufficiently engaging as it is happening. That's actually a great thing because the only reason I paused the previous project was because it's taking a lot of time and cost. Game development is hard and it takes a lot of time, while I have better things to do which can be completed in less time. So I thought that maybe just complete those projects and then get back to it, because after I complete them my life might get easier or better, right? I might learn more in less time than by working on it. So I paused it. So great work would have been done in that project, but I didn't do it and I just shifted to different things. Yeah. So what it is spending immense amount of time solving the problem. You should not consider it as a cost, right? It will take a lot of time, but you will definitely do great work, and that's the only way for that. You can't get things done quick, right? There may be some jobs where you have to work diligently for years to at things you hate before you get to the good part. But this is not how great work happens. Great work happens by focusing consistently on something you're genuinely interested in. When you pause to take a stock, you're surprised how far you come. The reason you're surprised is that we underestimate the cumulative effect of work. Writing a page a day doesn't sound like much, but if you do it every day, you'll write a book in a year. That's the key, consistency. People who do great things don't get a lot of work done every day. They get something done rather than nothing. If you do great work that compounds, you will get exponential growth. Most people who do this do it unconsciously, but it's worth stopping to think about it. Learning, for example, is an instance of this phenomenon. The more you learn about something, the easier it is to learn more. Growing an audience is another. The more fans you have, the more new fans will bring you. So, compounding even works in work, right? The more time you spend on it, the more likely it is that it gets compounded and you'll get an exponential growth, right? That's true. The trouble with exponential growth is that the curve feels flat at the beginning. It isn't. It's still a wonderful exponential curve, but we can't grasp that intuitively. So we underrate the exponential growth in its early stages. We underrate the exponential growth in its early stages. Something that grows exponentially can become so valuable that it's worth making an extraordinary effort to get it started. But since we underrate the exponential growth early on, this is mostly done unconsciously. People push through the initial and unrewarding phase of learning something new because they know from the experience that learning new things always takes an initial push, and they grow their audience to one fan at a time because they have nothing better to do. If people consciously realize they could invest in exponential growth, many more would do it. That is great. Oh my god, I never narrated or read out loud something so long. I feel like I'm losing my vocal cords. Anyways, so working on something for long hours will lead to great work, right? And the more time you spend on it, the more exponential results you get. So the trajectory is like this, right? The curve goes like this. So you are at this point. At this point, the curve seems to be flat. But as you keep working on it, it will slowly increase, and the more you work on it, the more time you give it, the exponential results will come, right? So at this point, looking at your slope, you'll feel like there are no results in here, and you underestimate what it can give you, right? You completely underestimate it, and based on the expectation of the results, you'll be having the motivation to work on it, right? So if it's too hard to work on it and the results are too low, I mean the underestimated results, right? So you underestimate it, obviously. So underestimated results are very low, but the work you're actually suffering through is very hard. What happens is you will have more tendency to actually stop working on it and get back to other things, right? Other projects. But if you keep working on it, push through that phase and keep doing it, you will come to a point where you'll be seeing an exponential curve, and nothing can stop you there. But most of the people don't know this thing, right? They will always underestimate it, but they will end up doing great work by pushing through it because they know that always working on hard things will definitely lead to better results, right? So they will do it unconsciously. Work doesn't just happen when you're trying to. There's a kind of undirected thinking you do when you're walking or taking a shower, lying in bed, that can be very powerful. By letting your mind wander a little, you'll often solve problems you are unable to solve by frontal attack. That is so true for coding. You hit a bug, leave that desk, get out, walk a little, do some task, and suddenly a thought comes into your mind, as if God just put that inside your brain, and you'll be ready to solve it, right? You'll find the solution. And this is why my mind is always thinking about something while I actually wander around a little, right? When I go out, I always walk mostly. So whenever I do my daily chores, what happens is I'll always be thinking about code and other stuff. I'll be solving problems, right? And people call me crazy because I'm always, they feel like I'm not attentive, right? I'm not attentive to whatever I do. So sometimes that leads to accidents, right? Like when I was going for a shower, I accidentally touched the resistor coil of the heater, right? And it burned me. I'm actually scared of those things, but they are very rare. and they happen. You have to be working hard in a normal way to benefit from this phenomenon. You can't just walk around daydreaming. The daydreaming has to be interleaved with deliberate work that fits its questions. Everyone knows to avoid distractions at work, but it's important to avoid them in other half of the cycle. When you let your mind wander, it wanders to whatever you care the most at that moment. So avoid that kind of distraction that pushes your work out of the top spot, or you will waste valuable type of thinking on the distraction instead. Exception. Don't avoid love. Okay, that made me blush. Anyway, consciously consciously cultivate your taste in work done in your field. Until you know which is the best, what makes it so, you don't know what you're aiming for. Alright. So you should cultivate taste in the work you have done in your field. Right. So you should like or dislike some parts of it so that you know what you're aiming for. Interesting. And that is what you're aiming for, because if you don't try to be the best, you won't even be good. This observation has been made by so many people in so many people in so many different fields that it might be worth thinking about why it's true. It could be because ambition is a phenomenon where almost all the error is in one direction, where almost all the shells that miss the target miss by falling short. Or it could be because ambition to be the best is qualitatively different from ambition to be good. Or maybe being good is simply too vague a standard. Probably all three are true. Okay, I didn't get this one. Let's go back. Consciously cultivate your taste in work done in your field until you know which is the best and what makes it so. So you should know which is the best part of the work and why it is the best part of the work, and you don't know what you are aiming for. You don't know what you're aiming for, and that is what you're aiming for. So if you are not trying to be the best, you won't even be good. That is so true. If you're not trying to be best, you'll not even get better, right? This observation has been made by so many people in so many different fields that it might be worth thinking about why it is true. Why it is true. It could be because ambition is a phenomenon where almost all the error is in one direction, where almost all the shells that miss the target miss by falling short. Or it could be because ambition to be the best is qualitatively different thing from ambition to be good. Or maybe being good is simply too vague a standard. Probably the three are good. So if you're trying to be good at something, you should be aiming for great, right? And till you are not aiming for being great at it, you'll not even be good. Fortunately, there is a kind of economy of scale here. Though it might seem like you'd be taking a heavy burden by trying to be the best, in practice you often end up to net ahead. It's exciting and also strangely liberating. It simplifies things in some ways. It's easier to try to be the best than to try to be merely good. So if you're trying to be best, you'll be good, right? And you'll often find yourself better if you're actually trying hard enough. But it's always easier to be the best, to be trying to be the best than to try to be good, right? Because in most of the things you work on, you can always see what is the best thing to do, right? You maybe see good is something, a gray zone, right? Good is a gray zone where it is hard to see what is too good, what is good, right? You can't differentiate from what is too good to be best and what is good, and you should be choosing between them. So it's harder for that. Instead, you can just aim for being too good or the best, and maybe while working to become the best, you will end up becoming good, right? You might not become best, maybe you will, but at some point it's easier to get good, it's faster, right? You will be aiming for best and you will be planning to get best, to get to that level, and that way you can reach good more faster, and from good to best is the part you'll be planning. The way to aim high is to try to make something that people will care about in 100 years, not because their opinions matter more than your contemporaries, but because something that still seems good in 100 years is more likely to be genuinely good. Okay, this is a great statement. One way to aim high is to try making something that people will care about in 100 years. Is to try making something that people will care about in 100 years. So you just have to decide a project which is so valuable that people will be caring about it in 100 years. Doesn't matter whatever other people are saying. We just have to be making something that seems good in the next 100 years. Don't try to work in a distinctive style. Just try to do the best job you can. You won't be able to help doing it in a distinctive way. Style is doing things in a distinctive way without trying to. Trying to is affectation. Affectation is in effect to pretend that someone other than you is doing work. You adopt an impressive or a fake persona that you are pleased with impressiveness. The fakeness that fakeness is what shows the work. So don't act. Just be yourself. Work hard and do the way you do work, right? Don't try to be something else. But it's kind of weird because why did he add this thing inside it? I don't know. The temptation to be someone else is greatest for young. They often feel like nobodies, but you never need to worry about that problem because it's self-solving. If you work on sufficiently ambitious project, if you succeed at an ambition project, you're not a nobody, you're the person who did it. So just do the work, your identity will take care of itself. But this is something of a gray area again, because you want to be a unique person, or do you want to copy somebody? Because copying somebody is great work, is great as well. So if you're copying Elon Musk, what he's done, maybe you might not become Elon Musk. Maybe you learn enough things that Elon Musk knows, right? Copying somebody is not wrong. The only thing that's wrong is strictly doing that, copying that exact person, right? If you want to do entrepreneurship, okay, it's completely alright, and it is recommended to actually get out there and read about the people who have done great work in that field and try to be like them, copy them. It's completely alright, right? So copy multiple people, not just Elon Musk in particular. Copy Elon Musk, copy Bill Gates, copy Sam Altman, copy all of them, the best parts of them, right? You don't have to be fixating on a single person and trying to be that guy, right? And copying all these things, you acquire knowledge from all these sources. Someday you will get to a project, you will make an ambitious project, and you will succeed in it, and you will be having an identity yourself. It's not completely like you should not copy somebody. You should actually, except you should copy the learning cycle. You should not copy the fakeness, right? You should not just copy for the sake of looking like them. You should copy for the sake of being like them. That's better. The temptation to be someone else is greatest for young, obviously. They often feel like nobodies, like I do. But you never need to worry about the problem because it's self-solving. If you work on sufficiently ambitious project, if you succeed at an ambitious project, you're not nobody. You're the person who did it. So just do the work. Your identity will take care of itself. Avoid affixation is a useful rule so far as it goes. How would you express this idea positively? How would you say what to be instead of what not to be? Best answer is earnest. Earnest. If you're on earnest, you avoid not just affectation but whole set of similar vices. What the fuck is earnest? Resulting form of showing insincere, intense conviction. What the fuck is this? Serious. Alright. Okay. If you're serious, you avoid not just affectation but your whole set of similar vices. The core of being serious about being intelligent really is being intellectually honest. What? We are taught as children to be honest. We are taught as children to be honest as an unselfish virtue, as a kind of sacrifice. But in fact, it's a source of power too. To see new ideas, you need to be exceptionally sharp eye for the truth. You're trying to see more truth than others have seen so far. And how can you have a sharp eye for the truth if you're intellectually dishonest? One way to avoid intellectual dishonesty is to maintain a slight positive pressure on opposite direction. Be aggressively willing to admit that you're mistaken. Once you admitted that you were mistaken about something, you're free. Till then, you have to carry it. Another more subtle component of earnestness is informality. Informality is much more important than its grammatically negative name implies. It's not merely an absence of something, it means focusing on what matters instead of what doesn't. What formality and affectation have in common is that as well as doing the work, you're trying to seem a certain way as you're doing it. But energy that goes out into how you seem comes out of being good. That's one reason nerds have an advantage in doing great work. They expend little effort in seeming anything. In fact, it's basically the definition of nerd. Yeah, I understood it. So you should not focus on looking like you're doing great work. You should actually do great work. Okay? So when you are trying to do work, don't do it for the sake of looks. Like for example, you're coding, right? The work you're actually doing must not be measured or judged based on how it looks, but based on actually what it actually does, right? Is it actually fulfilling the purpose? That's the most important part. It's not about how it looks, right? How clean your code is doesn't matter. The only thing is how good the fucking feature works, right? How are the tests working? Did it pass all the tests? That is all matters, right? That is all matters. You don't have to care about how it is looking. You don't have to pretend to be a Gen Z guy and gather all the trending stacks and build on top of that. Doesn't matter. All you have to do is fulfill the purpose of solving the problem or building the project. That's it. And that's what nerds do, right? Nerds don't really care. They don't care about anything. They don't care about looks. All they do is work. All they care is about doing great work. Nerds have a kind of innocent boldness. That's exactly what you need in doing great work. It's not learned, it's preserved from childhood. So hold on to it. Be the one who puts things out there rather than the one who sits back and offers sophisticated sounding criticisms on them. It's easy to criticize, it's true in most literal sense, and the road to great work is never easy. There may be some jobs where it's an advantage to be cynical or pessimistic, but if you want to do great work, it's an advantage to be optimistic. Even though what means you'll risk looking at is even though that means you'll risk looking like a fool sometimes, there is an old tradition of doing the opposite. The Old Testament says it's better to keep quiet lest you look like a fool, right? But that's advice for seeming smart. If you actually want to discover new things, it's better to take a risk of telling people your ideas. Some people are naturally earnest, with others it takes conscious effort. Either kind of earnestness will suffice. But I doubt it would be possible to do great work without being honest or serious. Being serious is important, right? It's no joke. It's hard to do even if you are. You don't have to you don't have enough margin for error to accommodate the distortions introduced by being affected or intellectually dishonest, orthodox, fashionable, or cool. This is important. These are all the things that can mislead you from doing great work, because while you're being that, you will feel like you're doing great work. Like it will look like it, will feel like it, but it's not, right? Being affected, being intellectually dishonest, right? So you don't know how to actually build a database, but you will do using AI, and you tell yourself that you know everything about it, right? You build one. No, you don't. It's AI that did it, right? If I give you a laptop, you can do nothing without internet, right? That's what it is, being intellectually dishonest, orthodox, fashionable, or cool. Being orthodox or fashionable or cool has something like you want to look like it. There's nothing value in that. All you have to care is about how is it fulfilling the purpose. How will a particular decision I take make my work better, make me do great work, make the project happen faster, right? Great work is consistent, not only with who did it, with itself, but with itself. It's usually all of a piece. So if you face a decision in the middle of working on something, ask which choice is more consistent. So consistency. Again, same thing, future. You may have to throw things away and redo them. You don't necessarily have to, but you have to be willing to, and that can take some effort. So if you have to restructure your whole database, if you have to wipe out your whole fucking data inside the database to actually build it again from scratch, you should be ready to do that. You should be ready to take some effort to redo the whole thing, right? You should not have to. There will be status quo, laziness, and denial about it. But one question can beat this. What is it? If I'd already made the change, would I want to revert to what I have now? Throw things away and do them. You don't necessarily have to, but you have to be willing to. That can take some effort when there is something you need to redo. Status quo bias, laziness will combine to keep you in denial about it. To be that I ask. This goes to Twitter. This is a tweet. Throw away and do them. Let's go. Am I still verified? I doubt it. Yeah, I'm verified. Anyways, have a confidence to cut. Don't keep something that doesn't fit just because you're proud of it, right? Or because it costs you a lot of effort. Indeed, in some kinds of work, it's going to strip whatever you're doing to its essence. The result will be more concentrated. You will understand it better. The more you won't be able to lie yourself about whether there is anything real there. Indeed, some kinds of work, whatever. Okay, there are some kinds of work where you have to strip whatever you're doing to its essence. The result will be more concentrated. You'll understand it better. You won't be able to lie yourself about it whether it's anything real there. Mathematical elegance may sound like more of a mere metaphor drawn from arts. That's what I thought when I first heard the term elegant applied to a proof. But now I suspect it's conceptually prior. That the main ingredient in artistic elegance is mathematical elegance. At any rate, its useful standard well beyond math. Elegance can be long-term bet though. Laborious solutions will often have more prestige in short term. They cost a lot of effort and they're hard to understand, both of which impress people and at least temporarily. Okay, I'm not interesting to watch, I know. Nobody's watching me stream. One and a half hour. I've been reading this since 1.5 hours. Crazy. And how much is left? I still got, oh my god, so much of it. So much of it. It's like double of what I have done. Alright then, that's it for today. We'll continue the rest tomorrow. Maybe we'll also have notes for now, because you can't keep reading 20 pages of things all the time, right? You have to have notes. Notes is important.